Hi there crafters, welcome along. It's Louise with you today and I'm sharing a new scrapbook layout for Kitaholic Kits featuring the October 2023 kit. Now for this particular layout, I've pulled out an old photo and I really enjoy the process of scrapbooking an old photo with a newer collection. I think sometimes it can spark a little bit of creativity in you, and not only does it help you to record the memory, but it's a new collection or something new that you could play with and create with. So what I'm starting with is a 9x12 black cardstock background, and I knew I wanted to put a patterned paper strip, so quite thick strips, and I'm going to off camera split them and adhere them and actually trim them all up just so that you can sort of see how this one comes together. Now I've got my photo, and because it just wasn't quite the right size, I decided to actually pop it, so trim it a little bit and then mount it just on some white cardstock just to help it lift off that quite busy background. And I still, felt that background was just a little bit too much, and I'm going to go into this video a little bit more where I actually used some white gesso and some white splatter to actually just tone that down a little bit. But before I do that, I sort of want to have a bit of a play. I like to try, while I'm auditioning pieces on the layout, to actually have a bit of an idea of where I'm going to pop my journaling, because I tend, if I don't think about it in the beginning, it will either get left off or I'll have somewhere on the page that doesn't actually suit the journaling and it almost looks like an afterthought. So I tried cutting out the little Project Life type cards and just using that as my journaling, but I couldn't make it fit, so I had to rethink it a little bit, and I did that while I was off camera with while the gesso and white splatter was drying in the background. So at this point, while I'm looking at the layout, I love how these florals look, and you can see how that white gesso has just sort of muted that background and really lets the photo element and the actual florals to sort of lift off that really busy patterned paper background. And you can see that as I cluster around this and I build some more layers, that a lot of that white gesso gets covered up, but the purpose of adding it is just so that you can see those little peaks of white around the outside. So you can add as much or as little gesso as you care for. If you want to white gesso the whole thing and mute those pattern papers down, then by all means. It really is about how you feel when you're creating. So in this case, I've left it just a little bit to peek out behind my clustering. I finally got my journaling sorted on that little tag which I'd used earlier in the month, and it's at this point where I'm simply going to work on embellishing. Now the layers again were still sort of blending into that background, so I wanted to really gently just put a little bit of black around that cluster so that I had just a little bit of point of difference between the background and the cluster. So a little bit of black inking, which is something I had to go looking for because I haven't pulled it out for quite some time. But essentially, now that I'm happy with the positioning of this with the florals and the photo and the background, I really do like how this has turned out. I'm going to add some very simple embellishing with some stickers and elements from this month's kit, and then I'm going to call this layout done. So I really had fun with this one, and I hope that you enjoyed that, something a little bit different. Thank you so much for visiting. Make sure if you haven't, you are subscribed, and of course check out Kitaholic Kits.